Good afternoon, and welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to our Direwolf 20 1.10 Let's Play series. So since the last episode, you'll notice this is like a new area here, and up here, I did get quite a bit more of the base built out. So this is the third tower, or the third completed. Well, not really completed. They're still gonna expand and everything. And I did get all of our items moved over here with the indexer. That's just a leftover barrel that I had. I will suggest, when I was moving everything, I was like, what am I going to do? Like, because there's no dollies. I'm used to using dollies. Of course, this stuff I could use packaging tape, but what I suggest you do is make yourself a moving wand. This works just like the dolly, except you get no negative effects. So if we move that, you'll notice it keeps all the inventory. You can also move barrels with this. Now, sometimes you'll notice some of these are placed all wonky. Sometimes it'll place them a little bit off. I did forget to, let me grab, just really quickly, let me grab some transfer pipes. Fix this. So also we have quite a bit of obsidian and clay and everything. That is from our quarry. It did finish its cycle, mining up the entire area. There's this humongous hole. By the way, it just finished an all ores mining, and you'll notice we got a good haul on that. 22 emeralds, 24 diamonds, quite a bit of Sardis and you know, everything. I am loving that quarry setup. So today I had a request a while back to start IC2. And so today, of course, we're going to be starting that and jumping into that model a little bit, kind of kickstarting it. Also, you'll notice I did start building another tower over here. It's still a long way from being done, but it is coming along. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump into IC2. So the first thing that we're going to go ahead and make is our forge hammer. Now, this just takes a bit of iron and stick, so yeah, I should probably make. And we'll go ahead and just get one of these, and we're going to go ahead and gun through and try not to have to make any more forge hammers. It's not really an issue because we have plenty of resources, but we'll try and waste as little as we can. So the next thing is going to be a generator. We're going to need an iron furnace, which is just iron plates. So let's go ahead, we'll get a stack, because you're going to use a lot of these iron plates. Just a heads up. Actually, I may need another hammer. I'm not entirely sure. And then we're going to need a furnace. Let me go ahead and order some cobblestone here. And then we're also going to need an RE battery. Now, these take 10 item casings and insulated 10 cables. You are going to need a bit of rubber for this. And we're going to need to make a new tool, which is the cutter. So let's go ahead, grab ourselves one of those. And then to get these 10 item casings, of course, you're just going to need to hammer out 10 plates. And before you can get rubber, you are going to want to get yourself a tree tap. Craft it just like so. And then what you're going to want to do is find yourself a rubber tree, and then just right-click these little nodes here. And that's going to give you your sticky resin. Also, keep in mind that those little nodes that I showed you for the sticky resin, those are going to respawn. So, you know, the best thing to do is just get yourself at least one sapling. That's what I did. The tree I found only had one sapling. But I'm just kind of replanting myself an orchard, a little area with the sticky resin. Now, sometimes you'll notice this one spawned with no sticky resin. So we might as well just cut this one down. It's just kind of a waste to keep it around. And then once you get your sticky resin, once you get a decent amount of that, you don't have to have a ton of it to get started. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to smelt that up. And it's going to give you rubber balls. Or rubber. But anyway, so you're going to get a bit of that. And now you're ready to start making your cabling. So to get yourself some tin cable, all you're going to need to do is run a tin plate with a cutter. And that's going to get you your first bit of cabling. And we're going to go ahead and convert that over at least one piece into insulated tin cable. And there we go. It tried to shift click in the normal tin cable and not the insulated for some weird reason. And then we can get our generator. Haha. But we're going to go ahead and take it a step further and get ourselves a geothermal generator. So to do this, we're going to need some 10 item casings. And we're going to need some glass panes. Neither of which are a problem. I've got black panes. I don't have normal. And now we've got our 2 universal fluid cells. We're also going to need iron item casings. Just a couple of those. And of course my inventory is already shot at the moment. And we're going to get our geothermal generator. Now, if you choose to go with the standard generator, that's fine too if you want to cook up coal. But of course, we have plenty of lava, so I'm not too concerned with that. And you'll notice here that it says like power tier 1, and you're going to see like power tier 4. Basically, that is going to dictate the type of cabling that you're going to need. So in this case, it's a power tier 1. And if you look at cabling, you can see like the copper cable is 128 EU per tick. Glass fiber is a little over 8,000. We've got gold at 512, and we have HV at 2048, and then tin cable at 32 EU per tick. Tin cable is going to be what you're going to want for power tier 1. So we're going to go ahead and get ourselves a couple more pieces of this insulated tin cable to get started with. And for right now, we're going to set up our IC2 stuff upstairs right here. And this is just going to be, you know, of course, temporary setup and everything. And we'll eventually move it around a little bit. But we'll go ahead and put our geothermal generator down right there. And we'll set our lava drum down. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to run some insulated tin cable out. And that's what's going to connect into our machines. Now I'm going to make some more of that. Honestly, I may make it right now. And I got that plugged up now with a transfer node. And it's just feeding lava into this geothermal generator and filling up this internal buffer with EU. Now, one thing to keep in mind is generally, or I guess all the time technically, these cables are going to have a loss per block. So you'll notice the insulated tin cable is 0.2 EU lost per block. Eventually it's not going to be such a big issue because we're going to have glass fiber, which can transfer pretty much anything, and the loss, you'll notice, on the EU per block is really low. However, since this pack has immersive engineering, and there's some other options too, what we're probably going to do is get into immersive engineering down the road. And immersive engineering, you can actually use the wire relays and use the immersive engineering power system to move power, either RF or EU, and you can actually use either of those to power the IC2 stuff. But I figured since we're going to get into IC2, we're going to do it the standard way, and then we may do some stuff with immersive engineering down the road. So anyway, starting out, I would suggest that you put your cables and your blocks kind of tight knit so that you don't have a ton of power loss over a long distance or anything like that. Now, the next block that I think we're going to go for is going to be the metal former. And what this is going to do is this is going to get rid of the need to have the cutters and the hammer and all that stuff. We can just use the metal former to create our cables and our plates and our item casings and all that good stuff. So, we're going to need a bit of copper for this. We're going to need insulated copper wire, as well as some iron plates. We're going to need bronze item casings, which of course is going to require bronze. And then just a bit more copper cables. So, luckily I grabbed these blocks here. And let's go ahead, pound this out, and get ourselves a fair number of these copper plates to get started. And of course, bronze is made, you can do it in the alloy smelter, or anything that can create alloys. You can also do it in the tinker's smeltery. But it's going to be 3 parts copper, 1 part tin for every 4 pieces of bronze. So, it's fairly easy to create. Okay, I went up there and cleaned out those monsters because that was driving me absolutely insane. I'm sure it was you guys too. What it was is the area that I leave between each floor, I forgot to light it up. And at least in this one. All the other ones I think are lit up. It's just that one wasn't. So we're going to get 6 or 7 copper cables. By the way, I do have a new mouse on order because this one is going out. It's wanting to double click a lot of times and it's been driving me insane for a little while. So I got a new one coming in, just a heads up on that. Okay, just a heads up, you have to use an oak chest for the toolboxes. So now we can get our metal former. So we're just going to go ahead and plug this in right here. And you'll notice that this is starting to fill up with its internal buffer, and it's draining from this geothermal generator. That's good. So now if we want, say, more copper cables, we can just throw in copper ingots like that. and it's going to extrude them and create cabling for us, just like so. And if you want, say, plates, you can do rolling mode, and cutting is, of course, going to cut things down. So you have a few options here. We're going to go ahead and leave it on extruding and let it make us some more copper cables. Also, you will notice that we get 3 copper cables for each extruding, or for each, extruding thing that it does, operation. That's what I was trying to think of. We're going to get 3, whereas when we were using the cutters and having to do it manually, we were only getting 2, so it is an increase using the metal former. Now, the next machine that I want to get is going to be the Extractor. And this one, you're going to need 4 tree taps, and that's going to get us our Extractor. Now, this thing is very, very nice in that, let's set this up like right here, and we'll go ahead and run some of our insulated tin cable over here. And so now what we can do is, let me get this rubber wood, and we can throw it into the Extractor, and you're going to notice it starts running an operation, and upon completion, you're going to get yourself a rubber ball of rubber. Now, in addition, take a look here, you can actually use the Extractor with sticky resin to now get 3 rubber for each sticky resin, as opposed to the 1 that we got from smelting it. And you can also extract from your rubber tree saplings to get 1 rubber in addition. So it is a lot better output. It's going to help us moving forward with the amount of rubber that we have on hand. And now the next thing that I want to go ahead and get a macerator. Now, granted, it serves the same function as the sag mill or the crusher or anything like that. However, certain blocks, that you may break down with, say, the sag mill are going to give you different produce than the... Why does it do that? It wants to shift click in the standard cables. But it's going to give you different produce than what the macerator will give you. So, for example, like diamond dust, we're going to be using that fairly soon with IC2. And granted, the immersive engineering crusher can provide you with diamond dust. However, the sag mill cannot, and so on. So, of course, the macerator works pretty much the same. I don't think you can put wood in that. I was like, I wonder. But let's grab, let's say, for example, some ore. By the way, I did get another run finished. I went and grabbed that a second ago. So we're pulling in a decent amount of resources. What I'm going to do after this episode is empty out one of those chests and take it back over there and move the ore miner. I just keep it running constantly. But you'll notice that it starts running through an operation, and if we give it here just a second here, we're going to get 2 of this crushed iron ore, and this stuff can just be smelted to make our ingots for us. Now, the next thing that I want is an electric tree tap, because I have to go out right now actually and get some more rubber, but I'm tired of making tree taps. I've already made one, and making one, you're tired of making them after the first one. So let's go ahead and get ourselves an electric tree tap. Now, you'll notice this does take quite a few things here, but most of them are pretty standard. We do need some iron item casings and different things. So give me a second. Most of it's all pretty much standard stuff. We've made the circuits and the battery and all that stuff. The electric motor is just more of those coils and tin item casings. So they're not terrible to make. And I will tell you that the metal former is fairly slow. I may end up using the rest of that hammer up here in a second just because I hate waiting for this thing. But we will speed this up. Now we can get our small power unit. Now that we've got all of that. And then just combine that with a tree tap. And that's going to get you your electric tree tap. Now you'll notice that this does require some power. So let's go ahead and get ourselves a way to charge stuff up. So since we're only on a tier 1 power system right now, we're going to want to just get ourselves a bat box. And these are fairly easy to craft. You are going to need a few of these RE batteries, which take the 10 item casing. So we're going to need a fair number of those. I've got plenty of resources, so I am just going to be wasteful. I don't care. And we can get ourselves our bat box. Aha, stash it. And then we can just plug this up. There we go. we can just plug this up over here. Now what you can do to avoid, you know, power loss, power loss, power loss, power loss, and so on, you can just put your, say like your bat box right here. Of course, then it's going to connect into this, and you'll notice that the internal buffer starts filling. Now to charge stuff up, you can just throw it into here, into this top slot, and you'll notice that it starts filling up from the buffer, and it's filling up that electric tree tap. And then of course the electric tree tap works just like the standard tree tap. You'll notice that it uses 0.05 K EU per use. And we're also going to go ahead and get ourselves an electric wrench, which basically just takes the IC2 wrench and that small power unit, which this is just a bit of bronze. I went ahead and made it. And the reason we're going to get that is the standard wrench takes durability damage whenever you break machines with it. I tend to like, you know, the electric versions over the standard versions pretty much any day of the week. But in addition, if you were to just say take a pickaxe and break one of the IC2 machines, generally all you're going to get is going to be a machine casing. So you're going to lose out on the machine if you don't break it properly with the use of a wrench. And the next thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and get this solar distiller. This is going to be really, really important for something that we're going to want to be using here in just a minute. So let me, once again, you could use the metal former, but I have it running making 10 plates, and I'm not as concerned with materials, I guess, as I should be, or as I could be, but we got plenty of stuff, so I'm not concerned. And the way this solar distiller works, well, eventually I'll probably set up a bit more of these, but if you take and get yourself a bucket of water, throw it in here, it's going to fill this up, and this thing can accept up to about 10 buckets. And it's going to slowly change that water over into distilled water. And this only works during the day. It does require solar power in order to run. There is another way that will make the distilled water down the road. However, we do need steam production for that. So probably we're going to be getting into steam production fairly soon. Because we're going to be upgrading our power system, like overhauling power across the base in the next couple episodes, as well as setting up a nice tree farm and everything like that. But if you're curious, it's this condenser right here that can produce the steam, or produce the distilled water through the use of steam. But let's go ahead, since we've got that being produced, the next thing that I want is I want a way to automatically gather and input that water, so that solar distiller is going to stay running pretty much all the time. So what I want to do is I want to get us a reservoir. And these are fairly easy to craft. You are going to need some fused quartz and a cauldron. For every 2 of those, you are going to need 4 of them. And there we go, the last of our fused quartz. So we'll just surround the cauldron with that, and that's going to get us our reservoir. I already made the first 2. And so now what we can do is we can just go set this up. We'll put it right next to this solar distiller for right now. That'll be fine. And then if we take and fill this thing up with water, put 2 buckets in there, and it's going to automatically stay filled. It's basically like an infinite water source that can also output to machines and pipes. So if we right click this with a wrench, it's going to automatically start extracting. Oh, it doesn't go into the solar distiller by default. That's fine. We can fix that. So we'll just try using fluid conduits, and there we go. So now it's filling up with water, and it's going to keep this solar distiller filled. And you'll notice that this is still making distilled water for us. So this does take a while. I'm probably going to expand this solar distiller setup, I do believe. So give me a minute while I do that, because this is way too slow. Okay, this took a little bit, but here we go. We have a basic setup with 5 solar distillers. It's still not as quick as it's going to be once we have steam production, but it's doing the trick for right now. We have a bit of distilled water being created, and you can just have this pumping out with the fluid conduits. I have all these set to auto extract, so they're only going to pull from this distilled water buffer. And they're pumping into this drum. So I'm going to go ahead and snag. They don't want to work when you have them stacked. But then you can stack them once they're done. But we're going to get 3 of these fluid cells filled with the distilled water. And then the next thing that we're going to need, we're going to have to put that macerator to use that I told you guys to make before. And I did make one additional machine. It's really simple, really simple to make. But let's go ahead and get ourselves just a bit of lapis. And now you can actually make these with standard water, but it does require a lot more lapis. So we're going to go ahead and crush up 3 of these pieces of lapis, and you're going to need to make one of these fluid solid canning machines. So the way these are crafted, it's just 10 item casings, basic machine casing, and then electronic circuit. It is a very cheap machine. But we are going to make ourselves some overclocker upgrades. This is good stuff. So, as this lapis dust gets done, we're going to go ahead and say we're going to fill drain from cell into tank. We're going to throw all 3 of these distilled water fluid cells into here, and what's going to happen is it's going to drain these out and fill this tank up here with those fluid cells. And it does keep our universal fluid cells. So good stuff. Our lapis dust is done, so we're just going to wait on this for just a moment. And now we've got our 3000 distilled water. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say fluid enrich, tank or cell, and we're going to say switch tanks, so that the distilled water goes on the left here, and then we're going to add our lapis in. And we're going to give this a moment, but you'll see that it's running an operation, and it really doesn't take that long. But it's going to change this distilled water and this lapis over into the IC2 coolant, which is what we want. Now, like I said, you can make this with just standard water. If you take a look here, well, I don't think it's going to show you. JEI, trying to find the IC2 coolant is honestly a pain to do, because you're like digging through all the fluids and all that stuff. But what you can do is you can use standard water, and it takes 8 lapis per bucket of IC2 coolant. So, you know, if you want, and honestly what I'll probably do, I have plenty of lapis, so I will probably, you know, just waste some lapis when I don't have, you know, the distilled water right now, but we'll see. And now what we're going to do is we're going to say fill cell from tank, switch the tanks again, and then we're just going to add in 3 of these universal fluid cells and give this a second to run. And we're going to get our 3 universal IC2 coolant fluid cells. So very good stuff. And then let's go ahead and pop on downstairs and get this crafted. So we're going to make overclocker upgrades. These require 3 of these 10K coolant cells, which require the IC2 coolant and then 4 tin plates. Not a problem, except that's not what I want. And now we can just shift click that in. Now you'll notice there's some additional ways to make overclockers. If you have 30K coolant cells, which require 3 10Ks, you can make 30Ks and then make 6 that way, and 12. But it's basically the same craft. It's just cheaper on your insulated copper cables and electronic circuits and stuff. But anyway, we'll get 2 of our overclocker upgrades. Now what these do is they do increase the amount of power that a machine requires, but they do increase the speed as well. So if we were to say I'm thinking an overclocker into here, and then an overclocker into our extractor. That's the 2 major ones that I want right this second. Actually, no. Let's throw it in here, actually, because I'll need it for making more of those. But let's say we grab ourselves a little bit of tin and go back up here, because that's the thing. This metal former, the speed kills my soul. But now if we throw this tin in here, you'll notice it does run at quite a bit better pace. You know, it's not nearly as slow. It can still be upgraded the more overclockers that you throw in there. So for example, if I grab another overclocker and throw that in there, you'll notice that it speeds up even more now. But keep in mind that the more overclockers that you throw in there, it is going to increase the power by a decent amount. You'll notice that it decreases the process time to 70% and increases the power to 160%. And of course, the more overclockers that you throw into a machine, the less you're going to notice the processing time difference, and the more that you're going to notice the amount of power that it requires. So just keep that in mind. But they do make those early machines a little bit more bearable, because they're just so slow by default. But anyway, I do believe I'm going to end out the episode there. Like I said, we'll do a bit more IC2 coming up because we'll get steam production up and going. And that's going to really change the way we handle distilled water and everything. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you found it helpful. There will be a video tomorrow. Of course, this video should be coming out on Sunday. Normally Sundays are tutorials and stuff, but I decided I'd go ahead and give you guys a bonus episode today. So then tomorrow another episode will be coming out. Next episode we'll be doing probably a power overhaul for the base. I think we're going to do power and then AE2, and then I also want to start Britannia, and I want to get flight. Creative mode flight with extra utilities. So we'll be doing that. Probably creative mode flight, we'll probably do that on episode 10. So if you're curious about that, definitely stay tuned. And anyways, if you guys have any questions with any of the stuff, do let me know. And as always, until next time, do take care, and I hope to see you guys then.